Hey, what up, everybody? Stevie Breach coming to you. Twitter and most of the wrestling world is abuzz about what happened 14 years ago on this date, the anniversary of WWF and WCW both changing their titles on the same night for probably the first time in history. There's not another night I can remember, especially this being a night of television tapings and not on a pay-per-view where most big title changes go down. Back in the day, WB, they used to pre-tape two shows back-to-back, so they would go live one week, and then they would have one episode in the can that would air the next night. The Mick Foley, where he beat The Rock with the help of Stone Cold Steve Austin, pretty much being a member of DX for the night. That was on tape, so WCW had, the inside scoop of what they were going to be going up against because Nitro went live every week. They came up with the idea of doing a title change of Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash, or Kevin Nash coming off the eve of being the first guy to beat Goldberg in the streak at Starrcade. So I mean, the WCW was riding probably the last big crest that they were going to be on, but this ended up being the one thing that sort of killed WCW in a lot of people's eyes because it was the last straw to break of believability that their championship mattered for anything, and I don't know. In the long run, I think well, the idea they were doing was that they have already ended the Goldberg streak, and so you can't have this long continuous streak. But I mean, if they would have done what they would have done, it would have been sort of like Goldberg's quest to go through, and he would have to beat all the guys of NWO. If you can sort of see, like when you went and played like Street Fighter 2 or something like that, and you had to fight the whole gauntlet full of guys before you finally got to the last guy. Hulk Hogan was going to be that last guy, so you had a long storyline of matches booked up for Goldberg, as in the first match he beat Scott Hall. From there, and then he would have to go on until he finally did it. So you didn't just have Goldberg in these title matches just boom 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 boom. You sort of be able to ride the wave of him on the chase to get to the title, but it didn't really work out because a lot of people switched the channel that night and never really came back to WCW because they liked what was going on the other channel with the Attitude Era and WWE. But I was lucky enough to be there. Like I said, I bought my tickets through a ticket broker. I told myself that I would never get bad seats again like I had because I was at that Goldberg versus Hogan title change, but I was to the point I wanted to be closer because I had that wrestling bug that I was like, I want to be that guy that's I really didn't want to be on TV, but I wanted to be able to see how big these guys really are up close. I wanted to see their facial reactions and really be a part of the show. I think everybody will understand what I'm saying right there for you. But I bought these tickets at the last minute, mostly because I wasn't able to buy good seats through the when tickets first went on sale. And I was going through the newspaper, and I found this ticket broker company, which I ended up using for a long time after that. I can't remember honestly how much I paid for them, but there was probably at least twice ticket value, if not more. The highest I ever paid for tickets using this ticket broker company was I paid $300 for front row tickets to a Monday Night Raw. I believe that was later the next year. I haven't been able to put up the video of me front row on Raw because I haven't figured out how to do it yet, but I have it on DVD, and I will do that someday, secretively, I guess. But honestly, the show was not very memorable. I had to look up the results to everything that happened that night, and I really can't remember. Hugh Morris defeated Glacier. Booker T beat some guy that I don't know who he is. Chavo Guerrero beat Norman Smiley. Chris Benoit beat Horace. Chris Jericho beat Saturn. And the match that they say is highly recommended is Hoovy and Psychosis beat Kidman and Rey Mysterio. Conan beat Scott Steiner. Bam Bam Bigelow beat Wrath. Diamond Dallas Page beat Bryan Adams. And then there is the main event. The one thing that I honestly do remember more than anything was I was sitting third row, and then in the front row was Steve, the security guard from the Jerry Springer show. He has his own show now, which is just as bad on syndicated television. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. He was sent there by the Jerry Springer show to interview the Nitro girls. I never heard or never saw anything coming of that, but I don't know why else he honestly would be there, because he is the Jerry Springer show, at least I know, is shot in Chicago, so I've never heard of him living in Atlanta. And then The two seats that were next to him and his two groupie girls that he probably picked up at the strip club were just two older people, and they had brought like a little handheld television that it almost looks like the size of an iPod or an iPhone these days, but you could scan through and watch TV because that night was the championship football game for college. It was Florida State against Virginia Tech. I don't know anybody who was on the Florida State team, but at that time it was Michael Vick's team at Virginia Tech, who went on to have a good career in the NFL when he wasn't in prison for killing dogs. That was probably the big feel of the night. Was most people were trying to find out what was happening in that game. Of course, this was really before cell phones and people still had pagers and stuff. So if you weren't watching a game live, you were really separated from the action. It's not like you could look at your phone now and see what was going on. The feel of the night was mostly it was going to be a big show. Pretty early on in the night, they booked Goldberg versus Kevin Nash in a rematch that we really thought was going to go down. Only for once the segment was to be over, you saw that Goldberg being arrested and taken off to the Atlanta police station, which most people really, really believed the story that they gave us without really going into it because the standards and practices of WCW wouldn't let him say that he raped her, but they went as far as to say that he had raped Ms. Elizabeth. And that was why he was being held. As they were taking him out, the same time Hulk Hogan was coming in, had an exchange of words with Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash said he hadn't seen him in a while since he'd been running for president. That was sort of a joke on the storyline. They were running for Hogan a few months beforehand. Based off Jesse Ventura winning the, I believe was he the governor? Yeah, he was the governor of Minnesota at that time. I guess he wanted to steal some of the limelight, but I don't think anybody ever really believed that he was really ever going to do that. The place was abuzz the whole night. I knew something was really going to be, weird when Hogan came down to the ring and he was just wearing like a stretch net t-shirt, I guess is the way to describe it. He wasn't really like in his NWO gear, and he was wrestling in like slacks and dress shoes. I was like, this is weird and this is not right. Kevin Nash came down in his normal wrestling attire wearing the title. Scott Hall came down with him, and the bell rang and the place was pretty electric for a few seconds before the finger poke came, just like that, and he chopped down the giant Kevin Nash. He fell down, and a 3 count happened, and there was like that sigh of like, well, what just happened? And then everybody just blew up, and at that time, Goldberg hit the ring because he had been released from the the police because I guess Miss Elizabeth's story didn't hold up, and everybody's just started going batshit crazy. I can remember at that time it was the cool thing to do was to throw things in the ring, and everybody had I guess run out of ideas. I remember when I went to the Goldberg title change, I threw a bottle of mustard, bags of sugar into the ring, just trying to make big explosions. I think the only thing that you could see on TV is when the bottle of mustard hit the ring. You don't see the initial explosion, but if you keep looking at the ring, by the end you can see the big mustard splatter. And I don't know who was responsible for that one, but it was me. But the girl that was sitting in front of me, second row, stood up to cheer for Goldberg and like shake her fists like this, and somebody threw a wet tennis ball and it smacked her. It left a big, huge, like almost welt on her back, and she was almost at the point where she was toppled over crying. It was just it was crazy. It was pretty awesome. So everybody knows that Goldberg was hogtied, and he was pretty much arrested again, handcuffed to the ring, sprayed down with the NWO, and you had the new NWO start back up. It wasn't NWO 2000. I think they just called it the NWO Wolfpack, but you had basically all the cool members of the NWO, all of the guys that were really, really over. For some reason, Conan wasn't in there, but you had guys like it was Hogan, Hall, and Nash, which everybody was really excited to see the 3 main members be back in there. Scott Steiner, Buff Bagwell. For some reason, Lex Luger was in there, probably because they didn't have anything else for him to do. and then you had the NWO Black and White came off of there. But leaving that show that night, I really didn't feel like they had killed WCW. I was really excited. I was always a real big NWO fan. It was the night that I bought this jersey for like $40 or $45. I'm still getting used out of it. I think it's one of the things I wear most in my videos. If I change, I wear this most nights just to hang out around the house because it's pretty warm to wear. At wintertime, it's like a real hockey jersey. Someday I hope to get the Jericho one that WWF came out with at the time. I'm sure I can find one out there. I might have to overpay for it. But honestly, I being a fan who was there, I never really thought that they had done anything wrong, and I don't remember anybody really that pissed off. They just wanted to see Goldberg kick some ass, and at least he had a good storyline to go through. To get it done, and it would have made sense for me. There was times at the night that I had known from the spoilers from looking at wrestling sites about what was going down. I remember it was about the time, because I know Nitro normally ran longer than WWF did back in those days. I remember looking at my watch and being like, "Oh, okay, I bet Mankind's the champion one time during that night." But that was really about it. It was a pretty fun night of wrestling, and I'll always remember the main event. I didn't know how bad the other part of the show was. I don't have it on DVD, I don't think. But even if I did, I don't think I'd really want to watch it, except for the Finger Poke of Doom, which is probably on some other DVD. I can't remember seeing it. It's probably on the Monday Night Wars DVD now that I think about it, but I'll find it. Hey, thanks everybody. Peace out.